to our course on fire protection and life safety system. We are going to discuss three important topics in this recording. Number one, the importance and objectives of fire protection and life safety system. Number two, we will discuss various subsystems in fire protection and life safety system. Various subsystems in fire protection and life safety system include active and passive fire protection system, fire alarm system, building egress system. Building egress system is also called as exit system. Egress means exit. And smoke management system. These are the various subsystems in fire protection and life safety systems. In this recording, we are going to discuss these topics only in brief. We will just understand what is what. We are not going to discuss in detail. We will cover all these topics in detail in the later chapters. And finally, we will discuss chemistry of fire and fire tetrahedron. Importance of fire protection and life safety system. Here is a statistics from NFPA. NFPA is an abbreviation of National Fire Protection Association. National Fire Protection Association. And this statistics, x-axis is the years and y-axis is the number of incidents in thousands. That means that when you see 1800, it is 1800 into 10 power 3, that is 1.8 million. Right. So if you look at the statistics in 2018, there are number of fire incidents in different places. If you add up all these numbers, it comes to around 1.6 million. There are 1.6 million fire incidents in the year 2018. This is a very big number. Hence, it is important that every building, every infrastructure or every asset should include fire protection and life safety system. So this shows the significance of fire protection and life safety system. So there are two important objectives for fire protection and life safety system. Number one, protect the building occupants. Number one, protect the building occupants from injury and loss of fire. And number two, prevent damage to the property and any valuables in the property. Fire protection and life safety system can be broadly classified into active and passive fire protection system, fire alarm system, building egress system or building exit system, and smoke management system or smoke control system. These are the four main systems in fire protection and life safety systems. We are going to discuss all these systems in brief in this recording. Fire protection system can be further classified into passive fire protection system and active fire protection system. Passive fire protection system are structural and built into the buildings. Passive fire protection system are structural and built into the buildings to resist fire. For example, in this picture, you can see these walls and these floors are fire rated. The walls and floors are fire rated, which means that they can resist fire. Examples of passive fire protection system include fire rated walls, fire rated floors, fire rated ceiling, fire rated doors, etc. Fire rating is generally expressed in number of hours. For example, fire rating of 1 hour or 2 hours. For example, if these floors and wall are 2 hours fire rated, then it means that they can withstand fire for 2 hours. Active fire protection system aims to put off the fire by external action. The external action can be either manual or automatic. Here are three common types of active fire protection system. in most of the buildings. Number one, fire extinguisher. Everyone might have seen fire extinguisher in our day-to-day life, so no need to explain this further. Number two, sprinklers. Sprinklers will get activated automatically when there is a fire. We'll explain about sprinklers in later chapters. For now, just understand that sprinklers, they will spray water automatically in the event of fire. And number three, hose reel system. Hose reel system is a manual fire protection system where the occupant can use the water from the hose reel to put out the fire. So examples of active fire protection system include fire extinguisher, sprinkler system, hose reel system, etc. There are more systems which we will discuss in the later chapters. Almost every building will have fire extinguisher, sprinkler system and hose reel system. We will discuss this in brief. Sprinkler system automatically detects and suppresses fire. Sprinkler system consists of water tank, a pumping system, and sprinklers which spray water over the fire. The system is triggered automatically in the event of fire. How the sprinkler automatically detects fire and sprays water, we will discuss in the later chapter. Fire hose reel is connected to the same water tank and pumping system in which sprinkler is connected. The difference between sprinkler and fire hose reel is that sprinkler is automatically triggered in the event of fire, whereas fire hose reel should be operated by the occupants. So if the occupants find fire somewhere in the building, he can use the fire hose reel system to extinguish the fire. So we discussed that fire protection and life safety system can be broadly classified into active and passive fire protection system, which we discussed already. Number two, fire alarm system. Number three, building egress system. And number four, smoke control system. So now let us discuss about fire alarm system. Fire alarm system alerts the occupants of the building to evacuate in case of fire or other emergencies. Typically, fire alarm system will have various sensors like smoke detectors, heat detectors, carbon monoxide sensors, etc. It also has a manual call point. So the fire alarm system is triggered either by these sensors or manual call point, which means that the system is triggered automatically or manually. When the system is triggered, there are alarms and sounders which will produce sound and alert the occupants to evacuate the building. The purpose of building egress system, also called as building exit system, is to provide safe, let me write it down, safe, unobstructed and protected pathway to exit the building in case of fire or any other emergencies. Let me repeat, the purpose of building egress system or building exit system is to provide the occupants with safe, unobstructed and protected pathway to exit the building safely in case of fire or any other emergencies. So in case of fire, the fire alarm system and firefighting system will be triggered. The occupants should exit the building in a safe way, which is facilitated by the building egress system. At this point, you have to note that the pathway, that is the corridors, the staircase, all these has to be protected from smoke. All these has to be protected from smoke and fire. So the corridor walls should be fire rated, the corridor doors should be fire rated, the staircase wall should be fire rated, the staircase doors should be fire rated. And also all these has to be protected from smoke. We'll discuss about smoke control system or smoke management system in the next few slides. So we have completed active and passive fire protection system, fire alarm system and building egress system. Now we will discuss smoke control system. Smoke control system has two components, One is pressurization and two is extraction. We have to remember that airflow or smoke flow is from high pressure to low pressure. So in case of fire, the smoke generated flows from high pressure to low pressure. So always the egress way or the exit way should be protected by high pressure. The stairways and corridors should be pressurized so that smoke is not entering into these areas. If it is entering into these areas, then the occupants will be affected by smoke. In case of fire, the fatalities, that is injuries or death, happen mostly because of smoke rather than fire. So it is very important that the exit route or the egress route should be protected from smoke so that the occupants can exit the building without any obstruction through the egress way. So the point to remember is the egress way or exit way, the corridors, the staircase, all should be pressurized. All should be pressurized to protect from smoke. Also, the walls of corridors, the walls of the staircase has to be fire rated. The doors of the corridors, the doors of the staircase should be fire rated. And also the building should have smoke extraction system so that the smoke can be exhausted out of the building. Generally, the basements and atriums will have extraction system, that is negative pressure. We are in the last topic of this module, the chemistry of fire and fire tetrahedron. So what is fire? Fire is a rapid exothermic chemical reaction. Fire is a rapid exothermic chemical reaction between fuel and oxygen. Exothermic chemical reaction is a reaction which generates heat. Endothermic is opposite. Endothermic reaction absorbs heat, and exothermic chemical reaction releases heat. So combustion is exothermic reaction. Fire is an exothermic reaction which releases heat. To initiate this fire or this chemical reaction, the fuel should be heated to auto-ignition temperature. The fuel should be heated to auto-ignition temperature, and the fire, once the fire is started, the fire will sustain as long as the temperature is above the flash point. For example, let us take gasoline or petrol. It has to be heated to auto-ignition temperature, which is 280 degrees Celsius to start the fire. But the fire will withstand as long as the temperature is just above 21 degrees Celsius. If you take diesel, the auto-ignition temperature is 210 degrees Celsius and the flash point is 52 degrees Celsius. So, in the chemistry of fire, there are four components. Number one, there should be some fuel or some substance for fire to happen. So, number one is the fuel. And number two, the fire will not happen without oxygen. So, oxygen or air, because air has 21% oxygen, right? And number three, the fuel will not get automatically fired. It has to be heated to the auto-ignition temperature. That is, heat is required to take the fuel to the auto-ignition temperature. And number four, there should be a continuous chemical reaction, that is a chain chemical reaction, the exothermic chemical reaction. So these are the four components that is required for fire to happen. So these four components, the fuel, the oxygen, the heat, which is required to start the combustion, and then the chemical reaction, these four components are called as fire tetrahedron. Tetrahedron is a solid with four phases. So the base is the chemical reaction and the three phases are oxygen, heat and the fuel. So the solid fire is a solid with four surfaces: chemical reaction, oxygen, heat and the fuel. So to extinguish the fire or to put off the fire, any one component of these four should be removed. Either you should remove the fuel, you should remove the oxygen or cut off the oxygen, you should cool down below the flash point or fire point, and then or the chemical reactions should be stopped. So if you remove any one of these four components, the fire can be put off or extinguished. This is very important to understand to design a fire protection system. So in this chapter, we discussed about the importance and objectives of fire protection and life safety system. Then we discussed about various subsystems in fire protection and life safety systems. We discussed about active and passive fire protection system. We discussed about fire alarm system. We discussed about building egress or exit system, and we discussed about smoke management system. And finally, we concluded by understanding the chemistry of fire and fire tetrahedron. Before concluding, let me quickly summarize our discussion in Chapter 1, Introduction to Fire Protection and Life Safety Systems. We discussed about the importance of fire protection. There are significant number of fire incidents which shows that every building and every asset should have a life safety and fire protection system. There are two main objectives for fire protection system. Number one, to protect the building occupants from injury and loss of fire, and number two, to prevent damage to the property and valuables. Systems in fire protection life safety system can be broadly classified into four. Number one, fire protection system, active and passive fire protection system. Number two, fire alarm system. Number three, building egress system. And number four, smoke control system or smoke management system. Passive fire protection system aims to resist heat by having the materials which can resist heat. For example, the walls and the floors should be fire rated. The fire rating is expressed in hours, 1 hour or 2 hours. Right. So passive fire protection system aims to resist heat. Active fire protection system aims to put off fire by external means. The external means can be manual or automatic. So sprinklers are automatic, fire extinguishers are manual, and hose reel systems are manual. So we discussed all these systems in brief. Sprinkler and hose reel system are connected to same network of water tank and pumping system. Sprinklers are automatically triggered in case of fire. They spray water over the fire and extinguish the fire. Hose reel system is operated by the occupants. If they see any fire, they can use the hose reel to put out the fire. Fire alarm system generates a sound in the event of fire or any emergencies. The fire alarm system can be triggered either by these sensors. There are a lot of sensors, smoke sensors or carbon monoxide sensors or heat detectors, or also they can be triggered by manual call point. So if anyone sees fire, they will switch the manual call point, which will trigger the fire alarm and it will generate a sound for everyone to evacuate the building. This is fire alarm system. And then we discussed building egress system. Egress means exit. So the purpose of building egress system is to provide a safe, unobstructed, protected pathway to exit the building in case of fire. So it has to be remembered that the egress route, the exit route, has to be protected by smoke management system and passive fire protection system. Then we discussed about smoke control system. There are two types of smoke control system: pressurization system and extraction system. So the corridors and staircases has to be protected by pressurization so that the smoke does not enter into these areas, because this is the exit way or the egress way. This should be protected from the smoke and fire. So this should be pressurized. There will be airflow into these areas which will keep the area pressurized. Smoke extraction is generally done in atriums or basements to remove the smoke. So generally one side of the building extracts the smoke and the other side of the building is pressurized to protect the egress way or exit route from smoke. And then we discussed about chemistry of fire. Fire is a rapid exothermic chemical reaction between fuel and oxygen. So there are four components in fire. One is the fuel, two oxygen, three heat, and the chemical reaction. These four components are called as fire tetrahedron. Tetrahedron is a solid with 4 surfaces. So the 4 components refer to the 4 surfaces of a tetrahedron. To extinguish the fire, any one of the component has to be removed. The fuel has to be removed, or the oxygen supply has to be cut, the heat has to be cooled down, or the chemical reaction has to be cut. So if we remove any 4 components of this fire tetrahedron, the fire is extinguished. Hope you had a very good understanding of the contents we discussed. Thanks for your attention.